And the book I'm going to read you is called The Little Pig, the Bicycle, and the Moon. And I thought we'd read this one because the moon, you guys are going to be learning about the moon. This story is a really cool story, and my two kids, Maya and Aiden, both love this story too. So I think you're gonna like it. It's kind of about you got to keep trying. If you're trying something new, it might not be easy at first, and you might have to try different ways to do it, but you got to keep trying. You got to push through the hard times. And even though things are different or things are new, that you can do it. So here we go. The Little Pig, the Bicycle, and the Moon. Rosie, the little pig, had everything she needed to be happy. A large mud bath to play in, enough food to eat whenever she wanted, and a deliciously smelly pig pen. Play, eat, sleep. The little pig wanted nothing more. Until the day a red bicycle appeared in the yard. To her, it was pure wonder. It was ridden by a small, very ugly animal that had no snout or a curly tail. She's talking about the person. Rosie spent hours watching the small animal on the bicycle. That's easy. I could ride a bike too. One night, the little pig quietly snuck out of the pig pen. The yard was empty. Everyone was asleep except Rosie and the moon. You can watch if you want to, Moon. The bicycle, leaning against a wall, seemed to be waiting for Rosie. The little pig got onto the bike, started to pedal, but bunk. The bicycle fell on its side. She tried several times, but the same thing happened. It's more complicated than I thought, said Rosie. There's probably something I'm doing wrong, but what? The next day, she again watched the small animal on the bike. To start, he gave a good push with his foot. So that's the trick. I'll get it, and when I know how to pedal, I'll go to the other side of the world, and maybe even further. That night, Rosie dragged the bicycle up a hill, thinking that would make it easier to gain speed. She was right. The bicycle took off, rolled a few yards, and then began to zigzag. And boom, it crashed into the side of the hen house. The hens, awakened by the noise, were dying of laughter. How humiliating! She was so embarrassed. Especially with you can see all the hens are laughing and say, ha, ha, ha. And you can tell Rosie just doesn't feel good. She's embarrassed. A little shaken, Rosie decided it'd be safer to wear a helmet. When she arrived the next night, the entire barnyard was already there, waiting for the show. The moon was there too, and Rosie felt as if it was watching over her, like a friend. I know how, announced Rosie, climbing onto the bicycle. You must first give it a good push, but then it's important to keep your balance. Rosie started down the slope that led to the pond while the chickens followed her, cackling. She made it down the hill without losing her balance. She couldn't make the turn just before the pond, and splash! Rosie was in the water with the bicycle. What's that? Man overboard? Shouted the dog. She wants to ride a bike, answered the chattiest hen. It will never happen, gobbled the turkey. The dog looked at Rosie. Come back tomorrow. I'll help you. Cycling is certainly an action-packed sport, thought Rosie, but it's so much fun. The next night, she put on her protective equipment, adding to it for the extra safety a rubber tire and a snorkel. The dog was waiting for her as promised. I will pull you. He harnessed himself to the bicycle and pulled. The bicycle quickly gained speed. But suddenly a rabbit crossed the yard, running towards the vegetable garden. The dog could not resist the temptation to chase it. How did you put on the brakes? And Rosie landed on her back between the tomato plants and the leeks. Rosie now added a piece of equipment, a cushion. in case of falls into the garden. With her new outfit, she felt invincible. This time, I'm completely ready. It's not enough to give yourself a good push and then keep your balance. You also have to know how to turn and put on the brakes. That night, the goat was called in to help. I will push you. She planted her horns and rushed straight ahead while Rosie pedaled. After a few minutes, the little pig turned around and was astonished to see that the goat was gone. That's it. I can ride a bicycle by myself. The moon had never been as bright as it was that night. You see, Moon, I did it. Thrilled, the little pig pedaled with all her might. She braked in front of the gate, opened it, turned right, rode up the hill, and disappeared into the moonlight. What became of her? No one knows. Some say she pedaled and pedaled without stopping until she reached the other side of the world. They say she now works in the circus, where her performance is very famous. Others say that the other side of the world wasn't far enough for Rosie, and if you look up high and when the sky is clear, you can sometimes see a little pig on a red bicycle pedaling on the moon. The end. I hope you guys like this story, and I hope you guys have a good first day of learning online. I know you can do it, and I know it might be tough, kind of like Rosie, but if you keep trying, I bet you can do it. I miss you, and have a good day learning. Bye, guys.